Shalom, shalom, shalom. It's your brother Amaran Makar back with another lesson, giving all the praise and the honor and the glory to Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Makar Dash, and the double honors as always we give to our apostles and our bishops, whatever the bishops, the leaders and teachers of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect, man. So I'm going to try and make this as short as I can. But there's a question that's always coming up when you see our people, the so-called blacks, Latinos and Native Americans mainly, is what you see in the limelight when it comes to being treated poorly in this world. And I say that because there are Israelites that look like the other nations. Right, they're also under the curses. If you're an Israelite, you're under the curses, alright? But with the standouts are the so-called Negroes, the so-called blacks, the so-called Latinos, and the so-called Native Americans, man. You got the Judites, the Benjamites, the Levites, the Ephraimites, the Gadites, so on and so forth. And when to get to the point, when these things are occurring, these situations are people being downtrodden, whether it be by the government, the police, in the hospitals where they mistreat us and they don't treat us the same, in the courts of law, and all those things combined, we get treated the worst, man. And our people always, you see these videos on YouTube or whatever, social media, and the question, I'm getting to the point, the question that's always being posed is, why does everybody hate us? Well, they hate us first and foremost. I'm going to use that corny saying, they hate us because they ain't us, man. But they hate us, that's just a little joke, but they hate us because we're the children of Yahweh, we're the children of Yahweh, man. We're the children of Zion, man. We're the Israelites. And the Lord has put a curse upon us because we didn't obey Him. And part of that curse is being under these nations, man, and them hating us, right? That's the real answer. There's no mystery to it unless if you're outside of this truth, of course there's a mystery to it, but there is no mystery once you read the scriptures and understand who the Lord is dealing with and who the Israelites actually are, man. So the reason why we're hated is because the Lord has put the spirit on the nations to hate us. Alright, that's the answer. And I'm going to read, like I said, I'm going to make this too long, it's getting late, but I'm going to read some precepts and let some scriptures and Lord willing it'll be edifying. So, the Songs of Zion, so Lamentations, obviously this is after the destruction of Jerusalem, the second and whatnot. And it says, how doth the city sit in solitary? This is Lamentations 1:1. How doth the city sit solitary, that was full of people? How is she become a widow? She that was great among the nations, and princess among provinces, how is she become tributary? She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she hath none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They have become her enemies. Right? And I'm going to have to jump to, those of you that know will know where I'm going. Where is it? Psalms 83 and 1, it says, keep not thou silence, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult. That means they're raising up their voices, man. And they that hate thee have lifted up their head, for they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Right, and that crafty counsel is this. It says, they have said, come and let us cut them up, come. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So, the people that are living in that so-called, in that land, they call it the land of Israel. don't call themselves Israel, they call themselves Jews. So they're basically forgetting all, 11 other tribes, man, but they don't call themselves Israel. Israel is a people before a place. So there's no one out there calling themselves Israel as a people, except us, now that we've come to the truth, right? But the rest of our people don't know. Those outside this truth don't know that they're Israelites, man. Or a lot of them do now, but they don't know to the fullest extent, because it's not for everyone to get this truth and be a part of it for now. It says, for they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. Alright, and it says the tabernacles, meaning the houses of Edom, that's the so-called white people, the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, the Moab, the Chinese and the Hagarenes. I can't remember who the Hagarenes are. Then you got Gabar, Ammon, that's the Japanese, Amalek. That's some so-called people out there, man. The so-called the Hamites. So basically they're all against us. Alright, let's go back. So verse 3 now. It says, Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction, and because of great servitude she dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest, all her persecutors overtook her between the straits. So, captivity because of affliction, right? And this is happening today. And that word straits means difficulty. It says, the ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feast. All her gates are desolate, her priests sigh, her virgins are afflicted, she is in bitterness. So the long story short, these are the same things that are happening now, and they're going through it. I want to get to the point. Yeah. So verse 8 says, Jerusalem have grievously sinned, therefore she is removed. All that honoured her despise her, because they have seen her nakedness, yea, she sigheth and turneth backward. So that's really the point. That's really the point right there. Is that Jerusalem have grievously sinned, man. Since her filthiness is in her skirts, she remembered not her last end. Therefore she came down wonderfully, meaning she came down hard, man. She had no comfort. O Lord, behold my affliction, for the enemy have magnified himself. So, until this day, we have no comfort. The scripture, it tells you that in Deuteronomy 28th chapter, man, and I'm going to get that. Right, but this is a past tense, but it's also relative to what's happening today, man. Let's go to Deuteronomy, man. So look, if you start the one that's going to go for all the blessings, but there's no point reading those right now, because this is not what this is about. So we need to go to what the reasons as to why, or the afflictions that the Lord has put on us. All right. So Deuteronomy 28:15 says, But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Right? And let's get to the points that are kind of relevant to what I'm saying. mean, look, see this, and thy carcass, 28 and 26, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall throw them away, because you got to remember, they was leaving us dead in the streets in the times, even going back to 70 AD, but when you look at the slave trade, man, in Babylon and whatnot, when they were hanging us from the trees and that, and the birds were pecking our eyes out and stuff with our corpses, and they didn't care. Men and women were left up there as a signal to the rest of the jakes, man, don't step out of line. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Right? So a lot of these are coming into the transatlantic slave trade, man. It says, the fruit of thy land and all thy labours shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. And that's them damn Edomites, man. But they're just doing the Lord's work, man. It says, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Yeah, I mean, it does. It drives our people crazy when they see how we get treated. We know when it comes to certain things, like when we get poor judgment in the courts and with the police, we know how it's going to go before it even happens, man. We know that we're going to get no justice, man. It's only now you're starting to see a bit of justice coming for us, man, because the tables are turning and that these curses are getting put on our enemies, man. Right, 37 says, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Yeah, man. Of all the different things they call us, to our faces and behind our backs, man. It says, verse 43 says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Right? And how do you think that perception, when to the other nations, when they know this, they just look upon us as the lowest of the low. Right? Verse 45 says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. So that's really the whole reason. That answers the question as to why the world hates us, man. Do you think it's these jakes must just think it's by coincidence? It's not the colour of our skin, man. There's people darker than us that don't get treated the same way. He says, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Right? Because thou servest not the Lord, thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. It says, therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And that's obviously a nod to the transatlantic slave trade. They did that. Read this, man. 63 says, I don't read this one a lot. It says, and it shall come to pass that as the Lord Yahweh rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And here we go, verse 65, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And that trembling of heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind, the trembling of heart, it's, we I'll read here first, and it says, "And thy life shall hang in dark before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurances of life." We aren't safe in this world, because we know that everybody is against us, man. That's what that trembling of heart is, and failing of eyes is when we see what we see, man. See what and the sorrow of mind, those sort of things. That's what they call it, generational curses and generational what's the word they use? I can't even remember, man. But the psychological damage is generational. Just knowing what happened to your people is enough to put a mark on you, man. Alright, you don't have to have gone through it to feel a certain way about it, to know that your people were treated so wickedly, and still to this day, if the Lord allowed it, and they would have still been having us in slavery, man. But yeah, man, let me get another scripture. If only these people understood, then they'll come back to the Lord, but that's not going to happen, man. Daniel 9:9 says, "To the Lord our power belong mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord Yahweh our power, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed our law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses the servant of Yahweh, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem." Right? So yeah, that says it all, right? And look, it says, "As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil has come upon us, yet we made not our prayer before the Lord Yahweh our power, that we might return from our iniquities and understand thy truth. Therefore the Lord hath watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. For the Lord Yahweh our power is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obeyed not his words." And that is the reason, man. Right, that is the reason why we're getting jacked up in this world, man, and why the world hates us, man. But yeah, man. Let me get one more preset, man. So I'm just trying to find one on my, I can't remember where it is. Yeah, got it. Right, I'll finish off here. Yeah, unfortunately, the Lord said this, but it's not going to happen, man. Well, not the whole nation anyway. So this is Second Chronicles 7 and 14, it says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, and pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven. And I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. And I'll end it on that, man. So yeah, all praises, honor, glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. Lord, when this is edifying, just a quick hit. And yeah, shalom to the next one.